The sun was just beginning to warm the green fields. It painted the world in soft shades of gold and yellow. For a young foal named Pip, this was usually the best time of day. He would chase butterflies and race his own shadow across the dewy grass. But this morning was different. This morning a cold fear had settled in his heart. He stood completely still, his small body trembling. His mother, a strong and beautiful mare named Daisy, was not by his side as she always was. He could see her, but she was far away, near the edge of the old woods where the shadows were still long and dark, and she was in terrible trouble. Pip let out a small, frightened whinny, a sound that was barely a whisper in the vast open field. He wanted to run to her, to nuzzle against her warm side and feel safe, but something held him back. There was a strange stillness about his mother. She was not moving. Her head was low, and he could feel her fear even from a distance. It was a feeling that traveled across the air like a cold wind. He knew, with the certainty that only a young animal can have, that something was very, very wrong. His playful morning had turned into a nightmare, and the world suddenly felt like a very big and dangerous place. He watched, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. His mother tried to pull one of her legs free, a small, desperate movement, but it did not move. It was as if the ground itself had reached up and grabbed her. Pip had never seen anything like it. He had seen his mother stand strong against howling winds and heavy rain. He had seen her chase away a stray dog with a powerful kick. But this was different. This was a silent, unseen enemy, and it was winning. The beautiful morning was now filled with a sense of dread that he could not understand. The foal's instinct screamed at him. His mother needed help. She was strong, but she was not strong enough for this. He looked around the empty field, his big dark eyes searching for anyone, for anything. There was no one, just him and his mother and the silent, growing danger. He had to do something. He could not just stand there and watch. A new feeling, stronger than fear, began to grow inside him. It was a feeling of urgent purpose. He had to be brave. He had to find help. With one last, terrified look at his trapped mother, Pip turned and ran. He ran faster than he had ever run before. As Pip raced away, the creature holding his mother remained perfectly still. It was not an animal he recognized. It was not a wolf or a bear, or any of the creatures from the stories his mother would whisper to him at night. This was something else entirely. It was a huge, dark mass, like a shadow that had come to life and crawled out of the earth. It was black and shapeless, and it seemed to absorb the morning light, making the area around it feel cold and dead. It had no eyes, no mouth, no face. It was just a giant, silent blob of darkness, and it had one of his mother's legs caught deep within its sticky-looking body. Daisy, the mare, was exhausted. She had been fighting it for what felt like an eternity. At first she thought she had just stepped in some deep mud, but when she tried to pull her leg out, the mud held on. It pulled back. It felt thick and heavy like wet tar. With every struggle the creature seemed to grip her tighter, its strange substance slowly creeping higher up her leg. She could feel a strange heat coming from it, a warmth that was not comforting but deeply unsettling. Panic had given way to a weary resignation, but she did not give up. For Pip she had to keep trying. The creature made no sound. It did not roar or growl. Its silence was what made it so terrifying. It was a patient hunter, a living trap that had sprung shut on her. Daisy shifted her weight, trying to find some leverage, but her hoof was completely swallowed by the dark mass. The more she fought, the more she felt herself sinking into its grasp. She let out a long, low neigh, a call filled with pain and despair. She hoped Pip was far away. She hoped he was safe. She did not want him to see her like this, helpless and afraid. The sun climbed higher in the sky, but around the creature the air remained chilly. It pulsed with a slow, almost imperceptible rhythm, like a giant dark heart beating in the earth. It was a monster born from a nightmare, a thing that did not belong in their peaceful world. Daisy felt her strength fading. Her muscles ached from the constant strain. She lowered her head, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The silent monster had her, and she knew that without help, it would not let her go. Her only hope was her little foal, her brave Pip, and the chance that he might find someone who could fight this darkness. Pip ran with all his might. His small legs pumped furiously, carrying him across the fields he knew so well. But today, the familiar landscape was a blur of green and brown. His only thought was of the farm, of the people who sometimes brought them sweet apples and spoke in gentle voices. He had to reach them. He had to make them understand. He did not know how he would do it, but he knew he had to try. His lungs burned and his legs began to ache, but the image of his mother, trapped and terrified, pushed him onward. He could not stop. He would not stop. He finally reached the long, white fence that separated the horse pastures from the farmhouse. He skidded to a halt, his breath coming in short, panicked bursts. He could see a person in the distance near the big red barn. It was the farmer's daughter, a kind girl who always had a soft pat for his nose. Pip gathered all the air in his lungs and let out a loud, piercing cry. It was not the happy whinny of a playful foal. It was a shout, a scream for help, filled with all the fear and desperation he felt. He cried out again and again, his voice echoing across the quiet farm. The girl stopped what she was doing. She turned and looked toward him, her brow furrowed with concern. She had never heard such a sound from the little foal before. Pip ran back and forth along the fence line, his movements frantic and agitated. He would run a few steps, then turn and look back toward the woods, then cry out again. He was trying to tell her, trying to show her, "Come quickly, Mother is in danger." He hoped she would understand his desperate language. He bucked his head and stomped his small hooves, anything to get her attention and convey the terrible urgency of the situation. To his immense relief, the girl started walking toward him. She moved slowly at first, then picked up her pace as his cries became more insistent. She reached the fence and looked into his wild, frightened eyes. "What is it, Pip? What's wrong?" she asked, her voice soft and calm. He whinnied again, a softer sound this time, a plea. He nudged his head toward the distant woods, then looked back at her. Her eyes followed his gaze, and though she could not see the danger from so far away, she could see the terror in him. She knew it was real. "Okay, little one," she said, pulling a phone from her pocket. "Okay, I'll get help." It felt like a lifetime to Pip, but it was only a short while before help arrived. The sound came first, a low rumble that grew into the roar of engines. A large truck, painted in bright, reassuring colors, came speeding down the farm road, followed by another. They were not the usual farm vehicles. These were special trucks, filled with equipment and purpose. They stopped near the edge of the field, and a team of people in matching uniforms jumped out. They moved with a calm and practiced speed that immediately brought a sliver of hope to the desperate morning. They were the rescue team. A woman with a kind face and a determined expression seemed to be the leader. She listened intently as the farmer's daughter pointed toward the woods, explaining what she had seen, and how the little foal had come to get her. The leader nodded, her eyes scanning the area. "All right, team, let's move out," she commanded, her voice clear and strong. "Team 1, you'll flank left. Team 2, you'll flank right. We approach with caution. We don't know what we're dealing with." The team members grabbed their gear and began to spread out, forming a wide semicircle as they advanced toward the spot where Daisy was trapped. Pip watched from a safe distance, standing close to the girl who had called for help. He felt a strange mix of fear and relief. The sight of these organized, capable people was comforting, but the thought of them getting close to the monster was terrifying. What if it hurt them too? The team leader walked in the center, her eyes fixed on the scene ahead. As they got closer, a collective gasp went through the team. They had seen many things in their years of rescue work, but they had never seen anything like the creature that held the poor mare. "Whoa," one of the rescuers whispered. "What is that thing?" The leader didn't answer right away. She was studying the situation, her mind working quickly. The mare was clearly exhausted and the black substance had crept alarmingly high up her leg. "All right, stay calm," the leader said into her radio. "All teams, hold position. Let's assess. It appears to be an amorphous entity, possibly organic. We need to figure out what it's made of before we can get her free." Hope had arrived, but the battle was just beginning. The team stood ready, a line of human courage against an unknown horror. The rescue leader raised her binoculars, studying the creature's texture and the way it clung to the mare's leg. It didn't seem to be breathing, but it had a strange, subtle pulse. "Okay, let's start with the basics," she announced to her team. "Maybe we can dig her out. Plan A, let's see if we can create some space around her hoof." Two rescuers with specialized shovels and digging tools moved forward cautiously. They began to work at the edge of the dark mass, trying to dig the earth away from underneath it. They hoped to undermine its grip and create a trench that might weaken its hold on the mare. The team worked quickly and efficiently, their shovels sinking into the soft ground. But their efforts were met with a strange and frustrating problem. As soon as they dug a hole, the creature would slowly ooze into the new space, filling it up almost immediately. It was like trying to dig a hole in water. "Holes are no good," one of the diggers shouted back, wiping sweat from his brow. "It's just flowing into every gap we make." The leader watched, her lips tightening into a thin line. This was not going to be simple. The creature was not just sitting on the ground, it was part of it. Daisy, the mare, watched them with weary eyes. The presence of the humans gave her a small surge of strength. She tried to help, shifting her weight and pulling gently as they dug, but it was no use. The creature's grip was relentless. It felt like her leg was encased in living cement. She let out a soft nicker, a sound of encouragement and thanks to the people who were trying so hard to save her. She knew they would not give up on her. She just hoped her own strength would last long enough for them to find a solution. The leader called the diggers back. "All right, plan A is a bust," she said, her voice calm despite the setback. "It's too fluid. Mechanical removal isn't going to work." The team regrouped, their faces etched with concentration. The initial failure did not discourage them, it only made them more determined. They were problem solvers, and this was just a very, very difficult problem. They looked from the strange, dark monster to the exhausted horse it held captive. They had to try something else, and they had to do it quickly. The mare was losing her strength with every passing minute. "Okay, new plan," the leader announced. "If it's fluid, maybe we can dilute it or wash it away. Water team, get ready." A different unit of the team sprang into action. They unrolled a thick hose from one of the trucks and connected it to a large water tank. Two rescuers aimed the powerful nozzle toward the creature. The leader gave the signal. "Engage water." A high-pressure jet of water shot out from the hose, hitting the black mass with tremendous force. For a moment, it seemed to be working. The creature's surface rippled and splashed under the onslaught of the water, but the hope was short-lived. Instead of breaking apart or washing away, the creature seemed to react to the water in a terrible way. It began to expand. The black mass swelled in size, its grip on Daisy's leg tightening visibly. The mare cried out in pain as the pressure increased. The substance started to bubble and steam, and the unsettling warmth it gave off intensified. "It's making it worse!" a team member shouted. "Cut the water! Cut the water now!" The powerful stream was shut off immediately, but the damage was done. The creature was now bigger and seemed more agitated than before. A tense silence fell over the team. They had not only failed, but they had made the situation more dangerous for the animal they were trying to save. The leader shook her head, frustrated but not defeated. "Okay, water is a no-go. Let's move to Plan C. Chemical team, what have you got?" Two rescuers in protective gear approached with a container of a special solvent, designed to break down complex organic compounds. They carefully applied a small amount to the edge of the creature using a long pole. The team watched, holding their breath. The chemical hissed and sizzled as it made contact with the black substance. A puff of foul-smelling smoke rose into the air, but the creature's mass barely changed. It seemed to simply absorb the chemical with no effect, other than a slight discoloration where it had been applied. After a few minutes, it was clear that this approach had also failed. "Chemicals are a no-go," the chemical expert reported, his voice heavy with disappointment. They had tried digging, they had tried water, and they had tried science. The monster remained, its hold on the mare as strong as ever. The rescue team was running out of options. The sun was high overhead and Daisy was visibly weakening. Her head hung low and her body trembled with exhaustion. The team leader stood for a long moment, looking at the creature, then at the mare, then at her team. They were waiting for her next command, their faces full of trust and expectation. She took a deep breath. There was one last option, a more extreme one they had hoped to avoid. "All right," she said, her voice ringing with renewed resolve. "There's only one thing left to try. Foam team, it's your turn, you are green to go." A new unit moved to the front. They carried canisters connected to strange-looking nozzles. This was not the kind of foam used for fighting fires. It was a specialized containment foam, a rapid hardening polymer designed to neutralize and solidify unknown threats. It was a last resort. The team took their positions, aiming their nozzles carefully. "Target the base of the creature," the leader instructed. "We're going to encase it, stop it from moving or expanding. On my mark, engage!" The team squeezed their triggers and thick streams of white foam shot out, covering the black creature. The effect was instantaneous and dramatic. Wherever the white foam touched the black mass, the creature recoiled. It seemed to shrink away from the foam, its pulsing rhythm faltering. The team worked methodically, spraying a thick layer of foam all around the creature's base, building a white wall of containment. Then they began to spray the main body of the monster itself. The black substance sizzled and hardened as the foam covered it. Most importantly, as the creature solidified, its grip on Daisy's leg finally began to loosen. The mare felt the pressure release and managed to pull her leg back a few inches. "It's working!" someone yelled. "Keep it up!" Encouraged, the foam team completely covered the creature until the entire black mass was hidden beneath a mountain of solidifying white foam. The strange heat it had been giving off disappeared. The silent monster was finally still. "Net team, move in!" the leader commanded. Another group rushed forward and threw a heavy-duty containment net over the hardened foam, securing it completely. At last, the danger was neutralized. Daisy, with a final weak effort, pulled her leg completely free. She was saved. The moment the creature was contained and the mare was free, the atmosphere shifted from one of tense action to one of gentle care. "Medics, you're clear to approach," the team leader said, her voice softer now. Two medics, carrying bags filled with supplies, rushed to Daisy's side. The poor mare had collapsed onto the grass, her body shaking from the long and terrible ordeal. She lay on her side, breathing heavily, her freed leg covered in scrapes and a strange, dark residue from the creature. One of the medics knelt beside her head, stroking her neck and speaking to her in a low, soothing voice. "It's okay, girl. You're safe now," the medic whispered. "You were so brave." The other medic began to gently clean and examine her injured leg. They worked with a quiet efficiency, their movements careful and respectful. They checked her heart rate and her breathing, assessing her for any serious injuries. After a thorough examination, the head medic looked up at the team leader. "She's just exhausted," she reported. "Some abrasions on the leg, but nothing broken. Her vitals are stabilizing. I think she's fit to stand, but she'll need some encouragement." This was the most delicate part of the rescue. A horse that stays down for too long can face serious health complications. The team gathered around her, not crowding her, but forming a supportive circle. "Okay, Daisy," one of the rescuers said softly, kneeling in front of her. "Time to get up, sweetheart. Your baby is waiting for you." They spoke to her, their voices a chorus of gentle encouragement. They pushed lightly against her back, helping her shift her weight. It was a slow process, a test of the mare's remaining will and strength. With a great groan, Daisy tried to lift her head. She struggled to get her front legs underneath her. Her first attempt failed, and she fell back with a weary sigh. But the team did not stop their gentle encouragement. "You can do it," they urged. "You're strong." Gathering every last bit of her strength, she tried again. This time, with the team providing steadying support, she managed to get onto her front knees, then with a mighty push from her powerful hind legs, she heaved herself up. She stood, swaying unsteadily on her four legs, but she was standing. A quiet cheer went through the rescue team. The moment Daisy was on her feet, a small, familiar figure came galloping across the field. It was Pip. He had been watching the entire rescue from afar, his heart in his throat. Now, seeing his mother standing, he could not hold back any longer. He ran to her, his little whinnies filled with relief and joy. He pushed his head against her side, nuzzling her as if to make sure she was real. Daisy lowered her head and gently nudged her foal, her own soft knickers a response to his. It was a conversation without words, a reunion filled with love and profound relief. The rescuers stood back, giving the mother and foal their space. They watched the touching scene with smiles on their faces. This was why they did what they did. It was for moments exactly like this. The exhaustion from the difficult rescue, the frustration of the failed attempts, it all melted away in the warmth of this happy reunion. The team leader walked over to the mare and foal, her hand outstretched. "It's okay," she said softly, speaking to both of them. "You're safe now." Daisy looked at her, her large dark eyes seeming to understand. There was a look of deep and profound gratitude in them. The team packed up their equipment, leaving the hardened foam and the net for a special disposal unit to handle later. Their job here was done. They had faced an unknown danger and through teamwork, perseverance, and compassion they had won. They had saved a life. As they loaded their trucks, they kept glancing back at the mare and her foal, who were now slowly walking side by side toward the far side of the pasture, away from the place of fear. The world felt right again. The morning had started with terror, but it was ending with peace. As the trucks drove away, the sun began to set, painting the sky in the same soft colors that had started the day. For Pip, the world was no longer a big and dangerous place. It was a place where, even in the face of the darkest monsters, there was hope. It was a place where strangers would come to help, where kindness was a force stronger than any fear. He stayed close to his mother's side, feeling her warmth and her strength. They were together, and they were safe. And in the quiet peace of the evening, that was all that mattered.